Mexico is the most dangerous country in the world, especially for women. Deaths and disappearances of women every year has reached an incredible level. On average, 10 women are killed every day. Behind this ordinary photo, there is such a disturbing story hidden. After being taken such a picture, the 18-year-old schoolgirl disappeared forever, and this case directly caused a sensation in Mexico. 11:00 in the evening on April 8th, 2022. Debani and two new female friends planned to go out to a party together. The three first went to a store to buy drinks. Then he took a ride to the place where the party was held. Before leaving, a friend of Debani's thought it might be too late when the party ended. It's not easy to take a taxi, especially left the contact information of David, the ride-hailing driver. Contact him when it is convenient to use the car. 0:20. Three people got out of the car and meet up with a group of young men. Went to the place where the party was held together. But only 10 minutes later, the surveillance cameras caught Debani coming out alone. I also met four strange men on the road. Maybe attracted by Debani's beauty, the four men looked back from time to time and talked to each other about Debani. Soon after, Debani went back to the party. According to the other participants of the party, description of about 2 o'clock in the morning. Debani was very weird at first. He started yelling, quarrel with friends, and locked himself in the men's room. Debani's friends saw this, so I called David, the ride-hailing driver. Tell him to come and pick up Debani home. 2:45. Building surveillance cameras caught Debani being chased by a man. Debani slapped a man in order to break free. At this time, his friends were also present and began to try to ease the conflict here. 2:55. David, the ride-hailing driver, arrived. Debani rushed into the car quickly from the crowd. Two of his friends said something to the driver. Then, the car left the place and headed east, but not far from the party. The surveillance caught the online car hailing parked on the side of the road. Debani and David, the ride-hailing driver. There is a fierce quarrel going on. After that, the car drove for another minute or two, came to a highway entrance. Debani asked David to stop at once, stand motionless in the middle of the road after getting out of the car. That is, at this time, David took this picture and sent the photo to Debani's friend. Tell him Debani refuses to go back to the car. He doesn't care what happens after that. David waited by the side of the road for 3 minutes. Debani just stood there motionless. So David drove out of there for the next 45 minutes. Maybe it's because guilty. David has been in touch with Debani's friends, and you can't release yourself if Debani doesn't want to. Forcibly drag him into the car will expose yourself to unbearable legal consequences. And say, as his friend, you have a responsibility to pick him up in training. After all, Debani is in a state of drunkenness, and the road that Debani is on, it is also known as the death road by the locals, because there are a lot of women missing on this road. David contacted Debani's friend for the last time. It was around 2:00 noon the next day. He asked about Debani's current situation, and Debani's friend told him they didn't find Debani that night. After David left the scene, no one ever heard of Debani again. On the morning of April 9th, Debani's parents reported the case to the local police. The police then transferred the highway surveillance that night, found that Debani continued to walk along the highway after David left, and came to a motel by the side of the road. The surveillance in the hotel shows Debani stood outside the glass door at 4:36 in the morning, look into the building, and hide out in the garden for nearly 20 minutes, and then left here. No other person showed up during the period. This is the last video of Debani. There is no valuable information. Debani's parents think David, the ride-hailing driver, was the last to see Debani, and surveillance shows that they had a quarrel. Parents think David was suspected to have touched Debani's chest in the car. This is the cause of the conflict. He is suspected of committing a major crime, but David said he was in the car. He was just trying to appease Debani. He is obviously in a state of drunken. David asked him for his home address or his parents' phone number, but Debani spoke incoherently and refused to provide him with any information. David even asked Debani's friends for this information. But because these friends have just met Debani, they don't know his address or his parents' phone number. So, the police questioned Debani's friend again. Why did the surveillance cameras catch someone running after Debani? And his friend said, because Debani behaved strangely that night. They chased him out for fear that he would do something dangerous. Human evidence and material evidence are all there. For a time, the police also lost track of the case. Nearby residents and volunteers have been looking for 12 days in a row. But Debani's whereabouts are still unknown. And, ironically, in these 12 days, they found another 5 in the past 4 months. The body of the missing girl. Until April 21st. Before Debani disappeared. The staff of the last motel reported to the police. There is a strange smell around the restaurant, although the police have searched the site many times, but it turns out they missed something. The source of the bad smell is the underground tank in the restaurant. The area is inaccessible to the public, surrounded by 26-meter-high brick walls and barbed wire. But the scariest speculation has been confirmed. Debani's body was face down lifeless, lying in a 14-foot tank. After spending 12 days in a hot and humid water tank, Debani's body has been decomposed beyond recognition. When the conclusion given by the government autopsy department, Debani has been drunk for a long time and fell into the water tank and drowned after hitting his head. But Debani's parents didn't accept the results. They commissioned a third party to examine the body. The results show that Debani's head has been hit by a blunt object from different angles many times. Above the right ear, eyelid, the upper lip, and the bridge of the nose were severely damaged, and suspected of being sexually assaulted before dying. This cannot be caused by a simple fall. In addition, Debani has no water in his lungs. It means that before falling into the water tank, Debani has lost his vital signs. In a nearby water tank, the police also found Debani's wallet, watches, keys, cell phones, and underwear. So it can be inferred that this case does not mean the same thing. The killer was after killing Debani and threw the body into this underground tank. And there is a wall 26 meters high around the water tank. Debani can't enter this area from the outside. Want to be here, he had to go through the motel. But the motel surveillance. There is no picture of Debani entering, and there's no one but him. And the police did it after the crime. Inexplicably detained motel surveillance. These two major mistakes in Edgar's previous autopsy and body search. It also makes the public's ability to the Mexican police and the possible corruption behind it. So far, the killer has not been found in the case, but people who follow the case have put forward several possible hypotheses. According to Debani's weird behavior at the scene, some people speculate maybe the man at the party drugged Debani's drink, and the brain, when his medicine works, it's a bad plan. But it didn't succeed. That's why Debani locked himself in the men's room. And then Debani left the queue because of unease. Driver David is telling Debani's friends. After Debani got out of the car by force, the friend told the news to the people at the party. It happened to be heard by the man who was supposed to be plotting evil. So the man came according to the news. Crime. This is also where Debani ran into the motel. Why you want to avoid someone? Because the driver David was too warm-hearted in the whole incident. The surveillance did get it. David clashed with Debani in the car. Maybe David just wants to call Debani a drunken plot. So Debani refused to continue the ride. And David, in order to fake an alibi, sent a picture of Debani getting out of the car to his friend and made it clear that he was leaving. Then followed Debani to the motel to commit a crime. And on the next day, because of guilt, asked Debani's friends about it. In addition, as a ride-hailing driver, David have received many complaints from customers to the platform, claimed that David harassed him while driving. Considering the prevalence of crimes against women in Mexico, and the place where Debani gets off is in the area with high incidence, the killer may have been around the motel a lot. Find the target you want to kill, and Debani happened to be there. The Debani case directly caused women from all over Mexico to take to the streets to protest. Requirements for recent years. Tens of thousands of murdered Mexican women do justice. Even the president of Mexico himself has publicly sworn. Make sure you find Debani's killer. But to this day, the murderer is still roaming the streets freely. Maybe he's planning the next crime, just like any other unidentified killer in Mexico.